and welcome to another episode. So today, as you may have seen by the title, we're talking about console RTS games. Now, I'm not a big PC gamer. I don't like PC. I don't like playing PC, and unfortunately one of my favourite genres of games in general is RTS games and real-time tactics and that sort of dealio. And finding decent ports on consoles like the 360, the original Xbox, the PS4, the PS2, the PS5, the PS1, Sega Saturn, N64, whole host of problems. Mostly the controls. Now, I kind of grew up on them. I kind of grew up on 360 predominantly for console RTS games, and that was a very good system with a lot of actually exclusives, like console exclusives, that the PS3 did not get. Now, I'm a huge RTS fan. I love RTSs. I always have, like, right the way back in 2008. It was 2008 I got my first console RTS, which was Universe at War, which remains in my top 5 RTS games of all time, which I may do a video on, actually, now think about it, which does actually have some PC games if you're into that particular avenue. Whilst I said I'm not a huge PC game player, I do on occasion dabble into it. I'm kind of staring at a Steam Deck at the moment and debating on getting that to, well, let me play this sort of game. But Universe at War, same guys who did Empire at War, if the name sounds familiar. 3 very different factions. You've got the Hierarchy, who are these big walker dudes. They're kind of built off of the hardpoint system in Empire at War for the capital ships. So each capital ship had different systems you could target, similar to how they do in Star Trek, and, you know, pick them apart like that. The Hierarchy Walkers built around very much the same concept. Easily my favourite faction in the game, bar none. Like, they're slow, they're not very good, but they're a lot of fun. And once you get that set of walkers moving, it's very hard to stop it, especially when there's 3 of them constantly churning out units. But yeah, very much a steamroller approach. The other 2 factions are the the Masari. The Masari and the... Wow, they are escaping me today. What are they called? It's a very good question. It's a very good question, Mr. Audience. And Mrs. Audience and anything else in between. Novus. They're the Novus. The Novus are all robots, and they have the ability to set up like this ridiculous network right across the map that allows them to appear pretty much anywhere. Massive pain in the ass when you're trying to clear them up of the map. But in general, really freaking solid start to console RTSs for me. That then kind of moved on. I attempted to get into Supreme Commander. That game is appalling on the 360. It's a very bad port. It is, unfortunately. I have played that and Forged Alliance on PC. Plays way better. Though, I would also argue, Supreme Commander 2, yes, I do like that game. Far better port. Way better. But that wasn't where I went next. I went to Red Alert, and I am genuinely in love with this game for 2 reasons. It's called George Takei and Mr. Tim Curry. That, and it's got absolutely my favourite RTS faction of all time. The Empire of the Rising Sun are Japan. They are the Japanese faction. And unlike the Allies and the Soviets, they haven't been around for the other 2 games, for reasons that if you played it, you'd know. And I'll be honest with you, it's a hell of a lot of fun. It's a hell of a lot of fun. It's insane. It's ridiculous. And Empire of the Rising Sun are a faction I just pick every single time. I never pick Soviets. I never pick Allies. I always pick the Empire of the Rising Sun just because they are quite so bloody entertaining. And there's something real fun about a psychic Japanese schoolgirl floating around throwing tanks and things. As well as having ships just kind of sat off of the coast, bombarding everything from a distance. Just love it. Love that game. It's so good. Around the same time, moved into Halo Wars. I don't care for the sequel as much. Halo Wars is a really solid RTS and actually remains the only one I've ever finished the campaign for, because this was at a time where I was obsessed with finishing every Halo game. I will do a Halo video. You will hear my thoughts on that another time. But Halo Wars is still a game I adore. I've had it since 2009. It's been 14 years, and God, that makes me feel old. Funny story. Round the time I got Universe at War, I was super into Halo. Super into Halo 1, Halo 2, Halo 3. This was pre-Reach and pre-ODST and pre-Halo Wars. I was kind of going, yeah, you know, it'd be really cool if we had like a Halo RTS game and they could call it Halo Wars. Literally 3 months later, they announced this, and I was like, I'm a prophet. I can see into the future. I know what is coming. And you know what? It's a freaking solid game, and it's got easily one of my absolute favourite scenes of Spartans, who are the armoured guys, if you don't know too much about Halo, just absolutely slaughtering aliens, and it is beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. But they play well as well. It's only got 2 factions, unfortunately, but each of those factions has 3 separate leaders. They were going to add the Flood, but they turned tail on that, unfortunately. There are mods for the PC version, again, if you care, but, you know, this isn't about PC. It's about consoles. It's about consoles. Now, I did branch out from there. I have a bunch more on the 360, Stormrise, Ruse, Spring Command 1, Spring Commander 2, Tiberium Wars, Kane's Wrath, whole host of, pretty much everything actually. End War was okay. Nightmare to play when you're in a party and you're attempting to use voice chat because all your friends can hear down the other end of the party, is you swearing at the fact that the units aren't moving because it's not registering your voice, which is fine. I did branch out, however. So I think I showed you a couple of weeks ago, or might have been last week, actually, with my video on games I'll get around to, or my backlog, which is extensive. Doom. Doom 2000. What was Doom 2000? Yeah, I mean, it's back. It's compatible with the PlayStation mouse, which I actively sought out strictly to use with this. I have a number of games on the PS2 that I don't think actually have. They don't. That's great. So the other 2 I was going to talk about are Warcraft 2. Now, Warcraft 2, pretty solid game. I used to have it on the Saturn. I sold it because I could get about 40 quid for it at the time, which, okay. And then I picked that up for 20, so not bad. 20 quid. It's fine. I'm not a huge Warcraft fan. I never really have been, but well, we all know what's happening with Bethesda at the moment. It's an absolute cluster show over there. But Warcraft 2, solid game. Not my favourite. And then we've got KK&D Crossfire. Kind of a standard RTS for the time. Didn't really do anything different. Like, all 3 factions are literally the same. They're just kind of like palette swaps of each other. It's not the sheer insane asymmetry of something like Universe at War or even StarCraft. They're all very similar, which is weird. You've got mutated humans who like wrangle up mutated beasts and then use those in combat. You've got sentient farming robots who are annoyed with humanity because they blew up their farms, and then you've got the survivors of the apocalypse a la Fallout but they all play the same. And that's kind of something that you'll run into a lot with certain console RTSs. They all play the bloody same, especially the early ones. Even Warcraft 2, they play the bloody same. Doom though, weirdly enough, has some asymmetry. Not a lot of it, but enough to kind of make you go, oh, there are actual tactics and strategies to play each of the factions, as opposed to spam units and hope that someone dies. Fantastic. But yeah, I mean, PlayStation 1's probably, of their 5th gen, the one I have the most strategy games for, including stuff like Shadow the Horned Rat, Dark Omen, War Games, Civ. Oh no, not War Games. Red Alert, Warzone 2000, no, 2100. That game's terrible. Free though, free online for PC. Again, this isn't about PC, but it's free if you want to actually try that one out. It's okay. It's there's no factions particularly. There's only really well, customizable units, which look playing. That's cool, but it's also kind of really freaking boring. Though I did branch out into other systems, as I've stated. I picked up the original Command & Conquer on the Saturn. This was kind of the first place I had Command & Conquer. I mean, I'd had, obviously, 3 before then, Kane's Wrath, Tiberium Wars, but I'd never owned the original until it came with my Saturn, when I got it for the first time, and I need to get that boy fixed, because his laser had died after so many years, and then I bought a new one just because sod it. But, yeah. It's a shame what's happening to Command & Conquer. I think any fan of that series will know. I think as of recording, they've announced Command & Conquer Legion, which is another mobile game that looks like shit. And I know YouTube doesn't like swearing, but it looks like absolute fucking shit. And it's insulting to have that thrown in your face constantly. So fuck you, EA. Anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about Command & Conquer and decent console strategy games. Not terrible. Has what looks suspiciously like Ben Kingsley in one of the stills on the back there. I think that's Kane. No, actually that might be Ben Kingsley. Ben Kingsley. But yeah, not the best place to play Command & Conquer, unfortunately. That would probably actually be the PlayStation version, which I don't have. They did release Command & Conquer, and then they did another one. I think they had an expansion pack called Command & Conquer Retaliation. I haven't tracked that one down yet. I will, because gimme. But yeah, no, not the best place to play it. Moving on, just a few more games to talk about. Ones I've really enjoyed over the years. I showed this off in my Nintendo 64 collection video. StarCraft 64. This is a repro. This is a big stinky repro because this game is too bloody expensive for what it is. And what it is actually a surprisingly playable version of StarCraft with most of the... I think it's all of the Brood War content, which is the expansion pack for the original StarCraft, not the newer ones. Though, you know, I heard tell of like a Wii U port way back in the day of StarCraft 2. You know, I'd have bought the shit out of that. That would have been amazing. But this is all we have. And it's a playable... I'm not a huge StarCraft fan because I don't like the fact I can't select my entire army to bum rush people, which, when playing as Zerg, why can't you do that? It's insane. It's absolutely insane. But, not a terrible game. Lot of fun. Weirdly enough, split screen. Split screen multiplayer. I am planning my series of forgotten multiplayers, and this is in the forerunning for that, because I've only ever played one other game that has split screen multiplayer for a bloody RTS, and that, well, funnily enough, is Goblin Commander. I unironically think this game is one of the best RTSs I've ever played. has no skirmish mode per se. There is no AI for the enemy goblins, and you kind of control each tribe individually, which is very odd and very peculiar, but very playable. And you know what? It's a lot of fun. I'm still really wanting the strategy guide to this, because it really showed it off. Is that the back? Or is it in the middle? Yeah, there you go. Full breakdown of all the units, all of the bits of gold, comprehensive info on each goblin faction, and you know what? It plays really, really freaking well, and this will be another one on my list of forgotten multiplayers. Nowadays, RTS is making a comeback, which thank everything. Thank goodness for that, because honestly, I have missed RTSs. I've bought a whole load of them on the PS4, including all of the 8-bit series by Petroglyph, who also did Universal War, and I'm very glad they're still around, because they're one of the very few studios dedicated to making decent RTSs anymore. And yeah, I miss RTSs. So it was very nice to pick up, when I got my PS4 last year, Iron Harvest. I'm not very good at this game. I'll freely admit that. I'm very bad at it. But it's kind of got a bit of a learning curve. And it's not a terrible learning curve. It's something I can certainly manage. It's a game very much in the style of World of Conflict and Company of Heroes. It's very much more tactical. It's more focused around, tactics. It's less around building up massive bases and bum rushing the enemy, which is what I'm more accustomed to. Thank you, Command & Conquer, for burning that into my muscle memory. But you know what? I really like this game. It's a lot of fun. It's a really unique world. It's based off the artwork of, his name completely escapes me, but the universe concept is called 1920 Plus. The idea is it's basically everyone gets mechs in World War II, and it's very good. It's very good. The game is very good. It's nice having the artwork in there. The mech designs are gorgeous. You get to play as America, if you give a crap about that kind of thing. Personally, I don't, and if I could get a different cover, I would, because woo, they're not my favourite faction in the game. That would be Emperor Saxony. Apparently, they play very much like the Hierarchy. Yay! I just need to figure out how the hell they play, because I have no idea what I'm doing. No idea what I'm doing. I played maybe a couple skirmish matches, and it didn't go well. But yeah, that's kind of it for this week. Let me know if there's any particular console RTSs you enjoy playing. Let me know if there's any RTSs you enjoy playing in general. Do you find playing on console to be impenetrable, or do you find it actually quite manageable in certain circumstances, like mouse peripherals or just good design controls? Let me know. But yeah, until then, I will see you next week, guys, and that's me signing out.